For the past 8 years, a team of investigators have been probing the death of Dorothy Kilgallen. You may recall, this team started placing a memorandum in the obituary columns of different newspapers starting in 2015 with the San Diego Union Tribune. There isn't much known about this inquisitive team of individuals, but they have finally decided to speak on what they have uncovered in the last 8 years. Spokesperson Jean Bryan stated, for reasons unknown, quite a few interested individuals have contacted this group asking if the research continues. This team was somewhat surprised by the interest, but this suggests Kilgallen's legacy lives on. In a recent phone interview with journalist David Schwab, Bryan stated that 10 days before Christmas in 2015, they had one person contact them inquiring if they were interested in what Lee Isreal knew and why it appears she distorted critical information and the motive concerning Kilgallen's death. It took the team 11 months to obtain the definitive answer on the why. In the end, they heard from 3 other individuals who provided detailed information. To give a brief outline of what they discovered, it wasn't the Kennedy assassination. The location where she died. There were 2 glasses involved. Ron Pataki knew Kilgallen since July 2, 1963. You, the reader, will be able to engage and reenact the events leading to her demise. Lee Isreal's Kilgallen begins now, San Diego. The first installment regarding Detective John Doyle. He was not Jack Popeye Doyle, 80, died on February 26, 2013 at the Treasure Coast Hospice House in Fort Pierce, Florida. He was born on May 7, 1932 in Brooklyn, New York. Jack lived in Dutchess County for many years before moving to Arizona. He then moved to Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Then settled in Fort Pierce in 2006. Jack was a detective for the NYPD at the 19th Precinct. He also owned a family-run restaurant called Jack Doyle's Terrace Restaurant in LaGrangeville, New York for 14 years before moving to Arizona. He enjoyed singing and performing at the restaurant and in musical plays in the Poughkeepsie area. Jack also played in shows at the Pineapple Playhouse Theater in Fort Pierce, Florida. He was a member of the Elks Lodge, American Legion, and Knights of Columbus. Jack is survived by his wife of 60 years, Catherine Doyle of Holmes, New York, 6 children and 14 grandchildren. Funeral home and crematory in Vero Beach, Florida. Online condolences may be sent at www.coxgiffordseawins.com. The team from San Diego interviewed their first source on January 19, 2016. The information below are excerpts from the interviews. Bryan, do you have any information you can offer regarding the death of Dorothy Kilgallen? Source: I believe I do. Are you interested first in hearing about Detective John Doyle who investigated her death? Bryan: I am. Source: his name isn't really John Doyle. His name is actually Jack Doyle. He was not a homicide detective, he was a burglary and robbery detective. Dorothy's death was the first and last homicide he investigated. He also had a partner named Jimmy Green who was a homicide detective. Both of them went to her townhouse on November 8, 1965 at approximately 10 a.m. Detective Doyle and Green determined that Kilgallen died accidentally. Kilgallen's daughter and husband showed up at the townhouse sometime later along with actress Joan Crawford. 2 medical examiners came sometime after 10 a.m. The coroner removed her body from the townhouse around 11:15 a.m. Bryan, interesting information. Why do you think Doyle and Green determined her death was accidental? Source: because he claims he retrieved an empty pill bottle and went through all her prescriptions. He made a DD-5 complaint report that documents all activities. However, Lee Isreal stated there was no such report in the file. She uncovered that it was conveniently lost and that the file itself evaporated. The facts were never actually presented to Lee Isreal. Information leading to the cause of death is also missing from the file. But she had a document that contradicts that determination. She said Doyle himself was disinformed. Neighbors were never interviewed concerning any ongoings from the townhouse that night. At this point, Seconal was assumed. Lividity had set in on the back left side of her face and neck. Detective Doyle left the police department in March 1966. In Lee Isreal's book Kilgallen, she never told the reason why. The reason I believe he left was because he was only 33 years old and not entitled to a pension. Doyle was married with 6 children, still living, and claims to have been married to his job. He sold his home and purchased a restaurant named Jack Doyle's Terrace Restaurant. He purchased a new home and lived off a bulk cash transfer. After he sold the restaurant, he stopped working completely and died in Florida in 2013 at 80 years old. And that's the way it went down. The next segment will be forthcoming sometime in March 2024. The topic will be Catherine Stone's edited interview. Her family did not want to speak with the team in San Diego. The reason why will be provided in the next segment. Author Mark Shaw is unaware of this information to this day.